Good morning. Let's just wait for other people to come in and then we'll start. I am preparing for the Facebook Live. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Those that will join us will join us. Let's do this. So today we're going to talk about the change of land use. It's a Q&A. So please feel free to ask questions. This thing is very, very bad. Those who are asking questions on Facebook, do put your comments there and then I can be able to respond to the questions there. And then by joining us on the webinar, welcome. And please do ask questions as you please. It will be on your left. I think on the left panel, you can be able to click on Q&A and then ask specific questions, and then I'll be able to respond to them. So welcome to the change of land use Q&A by Go Smart Value. I am Sithebe Manage and I will be presenting to you today on this. So generally, Go Smart Value, before I go into a lot of detail, Go Smart Value is focused on providing you with information that you need to make informed decisions in real estate. So whenever you need to make a decision on real estate, whether it's investing, financing, insuring, developing, whatever it is that you want to do, we are the people to help you make those decisions by making sure you have the right information that gives you the ability to make an informed decision in that regard. So real estate Sosantlahela is an expensive endeavor. Madi a rona ga se madi a tshamekang. So let's just make sure that we make the right decisions. So on Facebook, if you have questions on land use, on change of land use, mo Botswana, please do put a comment there and let me respond to you. And then on the webinar, you just send on your Q&A. Today is all about you. So I'm just going to share some information and then we will have that discussion. So I'm just going to share my screen. I hope it works. Let me just do this so that I can share the screen with the guys on the webinar. Thank you guys for joining here. Makes my life a whole lot easier when you are on the webinar, because then I can see and interact with you and just be. So let me just sort out the presentation mode. and share. Okay, there we go. It's not doing the things. I'm getting ready. Hi, Kadesh. Good to see you. Let me get to presenting. Obatubaka. And to share screen. There we go. Let me try and fix that. There we go. Yes, good morning. Again, here we go. So why do we generally change land use? On Facebook, we are going to struggle because I'm trying to give attention to those who have joined the who have joined the platform on the webinar side so that I can give them more attention. Guys, please give me thumbs up if you're able to see the presentation clearly. Those who are on the webinar. Thumbs up, somebody, please. Please, somebody, anybody. Okay, cool, great. All right, so here we go on. It's made of the presentation. Happy. Don't worry, we'll get it right. We will get it right. We will get it right. Yeah, so generally, why do we do change of land use? The reason why, hi Nyari, thank you for your support. So the reason why we do change of land use is because generally, no audio, but my sound is fine here. I don't know who else is not experiencing the audio, but I think my sound is okay. Yeah, the reason why we do a change of land use or why we need to understand what change of land use is because lehatsi lotlhe ka bophara all over the world has got its specific use. So ha le gore o batla go benefita mo lehatsheng, o batla go aga mo lehatsheng, o batla go anything that you want to do with land, benefit from it, then you have to know what is the land usage, that particular piece of land that you want to benefit from. So it's very, very important for you to understand how to do change of land use and which uses you are allowed to have on your particular land parcel. Just because I can do anything that I want, and that is absolutely not true. So when is it relevant to change land use? It could be one of three things. First of all, a development requirement. So that is if you want to build something, say, it is not aligned with the zoning of your property. So for instance, a hotel, it is a residential property. I may need to do a change of land use in that regard so that I'm able to do my activity. Today we're going to talk about all of those particular things. So this is supposed to be a Q&A, so I am expecting to get a lot of questions from you so that I can be able to answer to your specific questions. So the reason why you can do a change of land use is because it's a development requirement for what you want to build, or that you have it's called limited enjoyment of property. And that is that property. I'll give an example. And then your neighbors office it's fully an office ba operateela ho banna ba phakile ho ba irang o ngwe ka ha lefting ya go ba ira panel beating a simola go panel bita ho e le gore nako le nako motshegare o the go nna hela go thulwa dikolo yo hape le ga gago a ba simola go manufacture di gate ya lo go nna ele gore you are no longer enjoying because ha se tholwana di neighbor bosigo nosi batho ba chaisitse and then motshegare ke lona hela le mo lapeng batho ba theogetse so mo ke gona ha long gore the character ya the particular locality has significantly changed completely and you want to that particular parcel we say in such a way that you'll be able to enjoy it because imagine a little being and that those are things that you can apply for change of land use because change maybe I'll enjoy my property more change. And then there is another reason viability, and that is where you can no longer benefit from that particular property. And then suddenly it's dry. You can change land use or you no longer need as much water as you needed. Or where and then you only find that under that timu it's a big bedrock a rock bed you can't use anything so you're not able to fully utilize that property so then you apply for change use for that particular purpose. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 known land uses mo Botswana. I'm now using a different presentation. The civic and community, residential, mixed land use, commercial, parks, industrial, and agricultural land use. These are the different land use types. So I'm going to start with residential land use. This is supposed to be a Q&A. So I want those questions to come in. So land use the residential land use. Residential land use housing, multi-res, group living, the body hostel, the nursing home, the rehabilitation home, the religious quarters, or the gamba, the barracks. Those are all residential land uses. And then prohibited uses. So with every land use, specific things that no matter what, they are not allowed on that particular property, right? For instance, how residential land using I think more prohibited there is any use that comprises the guiding principles as outlined in the code, obviously development code, that can have the following impact. It affect the safety, the residences, health. It affect the aesthetics, access or functionality, or the energy conservation, or environmental consideration. The occupants, so it affect the affect the neighbor alone. So those are uses that are prohibited. The example would be storage of non-operating vehicles, rides, or especially in a residential area, it is prohibited to have any storage ya dikoloi tse di sa berekeng, whether ke di-caravan di trailer kana where you have material waste di matlakala le gore la kgobokanya gone go. So if you are looking at recycling kana le gore your job is to fix cars jalo jalo ga go letlele gone gore e le gore tiriso ya that particular residential plot e nne gore o beela dikoloi tsone tseo ko kana o collectela waste material gone ga go letlelesega. Ga go letlelesega gape prohibited uses gore o nne le permanent structures outside the boundary of the plot. I get permanent structure raya ka gongwe re ne re na le semausi mo lapeng e re se ntshetsa hante nyana yana e be re sa gella ka le botana yana ha long gore gongwe mo semausi re na re rekisa magunya le di chips mme bile re na license gape ya liqueur. So a hono ho ke gona ha long gore e be re itirela ha long gore batho ba rona di customer tsa rona di ka nna teng ela ha ra gella ka le botana ha go letelesege because it's a permanent structure. And then vehicle servicing, auto body works or sale or alcohol in residential land use. These things are considered prohibited. Kamala, right? Please ask questions. Like I said, it's a Q&A, so I want to see questions coming in here. The residential land use types, the single detached unit, where there is one house, there is one single dwelling. Kintu hela malapeng ke yone e leng tona jalo e agilwele one ke yone mo go bidwa go the single detached unit. Dilo tse ke tse tshwanetse le di itse because ha le go applyela ko counseling o batla go change o batla go ira tshwanetse re ga go bua le yana go tlhaloganya gore go tewa eng go diragala eng gone, and then we'll talk about the different change land uses. Go na le semi detached unit yo ke referring to where you have got more plotong ile one, right? And then e be go nna le mantu a le mabedi e be go nna le batang le kgaoganya ga gare. Those are called semi-detached units. We have seen that more deflating again, where kana le townhouse where mantu yana a mantsi yana a mo magane me ha mo magane yalo me a mo plotong le ngwe hela ha mo two different plots e be I think so it's not like that. Two attached dwelling units located in a single plot. So Leon is similar to that. Where you find them daily side by side or on separate floors, where in different floors or in different houses. Townhouse multi-family residential building. Multi-family there are 3 or more units in that particular house or in that particular thingy. The next land use type, please do ask questions. It's supposed to be a Q&A. The next land use type is commercial. So commercially, there is 4 types. There's where Ebidwa Central Business District, it is a focal point there. So for instance, CBD, high simulo la hela, ebere that entire land parcel, the Central Business District, right? It's a focal point in a city or a town. And then you have different uses, commercial, residential, office, in that entire thing, the Central Business District. Level 2, I get it, and that's a big one. And then level 2, regional commercial center. Usually, it's a shopping center precinct where to that commercial center. So you are going to be, you want to create a regional commercial center, you should know the purpose ya yone ke gore kana gore le batla go momaganya ditsha tsa lona tsa residential you want to change, you should know or you are trying to change into a commercial center, a regional commercial center. You should know that le gone gore le feeder batho ba le kae, your foot traffic ke batho ba le kae. And then there is Office General, which is intended to accommodate a broad range of professional or civic or services offices. So how long about change your land use into civic kana only yone go long the Office General. You must be accommodating the professionality. And then there's fuel station, that is a recognized commercial land use type. All right. You obviously fueling, engine lubrications, and all of that. Do you say how long we tell a lot they are allowed or not allowed? Certain restrictions in Zion. And then local center is usually a cardinally the shop in a particular neighborhood. If you don't have the local center, the center batho ba reka go yone kana o tlhela gona le di office nyana mo go yone and all of that. And then tota hela ha go dirwa di planning route ke eleng gore o tlhela gore gangwe di combi di heta teng kana di a go hella teng go irela gore e be le gore that area is used gore feed batho. Now a lot of times we don't understand that these are plots that are allocated, they are allocated to you. So how batla go se dirisa kana wena o batla go change gore le wena o kgone go ira a local center, o kgone go ira a fuel service station, o kgone go ira, you need to know gore ha ke re ke batla go ira a local center ke ra go mo go ntseng jang, and what are the key things that make it a local center. So those are things that you need to know. What are the things that make it a regional commercial center, and what are the purposes? What are the things that I can build on there, or how can we use them? Commercial land, so normally you would have the different features so you need to know gore go na le kgang ya parking, gore parking e tlhokagala e ntseng jang, e kanang kang, e accommodate dikoloi tse di kanang kang. Those are things that you need to know how you submit your application ya change of land use. O bo itse gore nya mme se o yang go se aga remains viable, how tsana go no it remains viable, how or develop, you can fit all the things that are required inside that particular plot. So for instance, you have 1,000 square meter plot, or what do you want to have a regional commercial center? Already so you would not be allowed to change that land use. When I'm office, so you need to know maina so that you know what this is exactly what I mean. Industrial use, cottage industry, and that is basically where it gives opportunity for industrial business that carry out their operations such that they are able to be done outside an enclosed building, and it's compatible with other non-industrial uses. As an example, I go manufacture in how those, that is what is called a cottage industry. It's something that can be done within an environment where it doesn't disturb anybody. Male and industrial activity or manufacture. Let's say so that's something that can be deemed as cottage industry depending on the magnitude or process. And then there is light industry. Light industry, high quality light industrial developments. It has limited access or accessory to outdoor activities. Everything that is a nuisance, anything must be done inside the building, right? Light industrial zone provides for a transition zone between the less intensive uses and the high industrial zone. So gantsi la ha o lebella hela yana mo development-eng o tlhela le gore go nna light industrial zone ha o e heletsa go nna le heavy go eleng gore ke gone go eleng gore heavy industry ke go le modumo dust go na le toxic emission ke gona production e ntse ke gona go na le di hazard. Those highly heavy industry, it's not supposed to be next to residential, not supposed to be next to commercial, not supposed to be next to any other uses. In the heavy industry it can you do a light industry for a the nuisance e be go nna le the lighter ones and the lighter ones gore nuisance kana le shre kana air pollution or sound pollution di hokotsege in that regard. And then the civic and community we underestimate how it can be useful. So civic and community can be used for educational facilities, health, religious, recreation, incidental support, supporting the community. So anything any use is support the community and how it lives, how it survives, can be deemed as civic and community. It's a necessarily business trade as such, but to improve the life now within that community, so that thing becomes a civic and community use. So the civic and community harlogana raditsi gona lebo place of worship, community hall, preschool. That's a civic and community. So you don't have to go to Halo, you have how nale residential, how we crash you have to change it to civic and community. A bit crash Leonen ala Halo yal illital or riba certain uses cutting how high little or any other uses cutting. Schools from primary tertiary the civic and community and the permissions that's what the permissions those things they differ depending on the size, depending on what level. From primary school you need 4 hectares, junior 9 hectares, senior 12 hectares for podium. Tertiary what kind of tertiary school is it? Health facilities like hospitals, clinics, spas, these are civic and community. Even traditional doctors, they are civic and community. You can change our official or a traditional doctor over here providing services. Those it one and the rehabilitation center, Karnat one the blood donor, all of that kind of stuff. Those are the things that fall into civic and community. Okay. And then recreation, sports, the playground, the stadium, civic and community. Community service, the Kotla, the museum, library, civic and community. Correctional facilities, prisons, detention centers, civic and community. So how about like provide any of those services you should know what you are changing to civic and community. Bus rank training, civic and community. The cemetery, they're also civic and community, so you should know that too. There is what is called parks and open spaces. So parks and open spaces are meant to create a space within the area, within the residential area, where it's providing sometimes value. It can be to create somewhere where fresh air more community. Fresh air community. It's something that assists environment, like a green space, a garden, gore go nne le sengwe hela se se tsenyang fresh air, se se bringing back into the community. So it helps us preserve the land for future purposes, or it preserves the natural or historic character, or something is traditional to the community. I personally think every neighborhood should have like a kotla just to preserve because especially and it's just something that I think in terms of planning it's one of the things that need to be thought about things that we need to preserve, especially for natural or historic means, or for preserving the culture or the character our neighborhoods. We need to have this place where we can have manyalo le dintsho instead of re pitche ditente mo ditseleng. So the parks, so a conservation open space is usually like the garden, the national parks, the game reserve, the plantation. They have natural vegetation or ecological corridors. These you can see a lot. How go kgaoganya one area another go na le spaces ntsi mo go sa lemeng go tlogetswe hela le sekgwa hela go ntse ya lo tlhela ga ngwe le an ecological corridor e tlogetsweng jalo kana go tlogetsweng gore go has pheho it's in that environment. So I'll go from the uses to the prohibited uses. So more these open spaces, conservation open spaces, you're not supposed to have residential or civic community or industrial or commercial uses. It is strictly for parks and open spaces. The use category open space. So how about that? How apply for use an open space? You must go and check for that open space. Is it a conservation space? What kind of open space is it? Civic and community, so you must know what kind is it. How much the application space for something, especially youth, and then you find that and you think because they don't want to assist you, and you find and normally it's just because that particular land parcel is not just an open space, it is designated to be a conservation open space. Sports and recreational fall under parks and those things. But this one covers indoor sports centers, the fitness center, entertainment, the sports complex, the golf course, that kind of stuff. It's also parks and open spaces. Leone, the prohibited uses are residential activities, large commercial and industrial activities. But you can ask for permission, right? About what are the things that you can ask for permission for. You can ask for permission and get consent to do things like bank services, commercial retail, a health spa, leisure or entertainment facilities, on-site daycare, hospitality, tourism, and associated conferencing facilities. So within that space, you can be allowed to do that, but you don't have to change the use for you to provide to do these kinds of developments. You can get consent for that. And then servitude spaces, normally bo BPC ba tsenye motlakase kana go beetswe roads gore te iretsela kana go beetsweng you're typically not allowed go aga godimo ga teng. So le ha re ka se make sure that you know gore di servitude di tsamaya ha kae. So ha ngwe tabere mo tseleng yana o tlhela gona le space tsela ile go gona space sentse before tsena go jara teng wena go extend jarata e bagana. The reason why they refuse is because it is a servitude open space. Go tshwanetse gore go tsenye di service mo go tsona. The only thing that you can ask for permission to build on a space in Zenyalo agriculture, because it's above land, and halore batho ba BPC kana ba BTC kana ba tlhoka gore ba ye above ground for their services. Agriculture has a lot of development, so it won't be costly for them to do that. But how we raya loa on top of a servitude it becomes a bit of a problem. So you're not allowed to do that. Other developments, they fall under the parks and open spaces, is this is very specific, where you can do multifamily residential. Some people who registered to be on the webinar are now coming on Facebook. That's fine. Just ask questions. Multifamily residential, or you can the open space self-catering apartment, but you must know where under parks and open spaces which category does this fall under. So this one falls under development specific or private open spaces, right? So these things are actual categories, parks and open spaces. So it's not everyone that falls under that category. And then you have the one that is prohibited, industrial, and everything that is not listed. So everything that's not listed. So the listed ones are multifamily, daycare, self-catering, plaza or square. So we tell okay, like gongwe masa yana ha gare yana ha we tell gore gongwe masa ene e kopantse ditsa. I'm giving an example. I'm not saying that's what happened. Masa is a single plot, so that's not what happened to them. But how we tell an open space that was designated like this, then they're able to use it as a square or as a plaza, because the essential purpose of it hasn't changed. It's just that it's been developed, but it still fulfills purpose. It is for the use of the community. It is for the benefit of the community. When you get a bunte, when you get a fresh air, it just gives a break. This area is not developed. And all of that kind of stuff. Recreational spaces would include, so this type is called, or this category is recreational, would have the playground, the park, and then just open park so that you can go and refresh your mind there. More permission for it. I think we've seen it. More go to Park, where we have seen you are allowed to ask for permission to have a restaurant, ablution, or administration offices for that park. Not allowed. The things that are not allowed in that area, industrially, and everything that's not listed in that category. Mixed use. This is the favorite yabato. Mixed use. Mixed use is supposed to facilitate integration of diverse but compatible uses into one development, with none of them having preference, right? So for instance, but you want to do agrotourism, you don't have to change into mixed use, okay? Because your core use is agriculture, okay? So you don't have to change it. But what you want to do, like you said, you want to do ecotourism, agrotourism, you don't have to change your agricultural plot into mixed use. In fact, you can use up to 50% of the agricultural land for uses that are ancillary. So ancillary, they support the main activity, that particular development, or that particular land use. The other one is I can give like a mixed use. But I like the purpose of mixed use or is have preference to any particular land use type, and then it must create a community, live, work, and play. These are it wants to create an opportunity for these things to be working distance, so that the infrastructure in different areas. So how obatla go submit for change of land use to mixed land use. The things that are being assessed, or compliantly the local development plan because it exists. And then compliantly the development control code. So a lot of these things that I'm telling you, majority of them, these are from the development control code. The development control code. And then you are compliant with the purpose and the characteristics of the mixed use zone. So halo hore wana hala general o batla go aga mall mme o batla go eta o lema tsa hale halo gore go nyenyane o tla le gore it doesn't comply. And then also what do you want to use this mixed use for, and what is the character? Does it fulfill kanyele ya gore go batiwa gore go kopangwe live, work and play in the same property or in the same area? So in that particular land, does what you want to build, does it fulfill those characteristics? And then the question in also the surrounding areas, the neighboring areas, the neighboring plots. So and are you enhancing the experience here, your neighbors, or you are reducing the enjoyment here, your neighbors? So those things, they have an impact. So there are 6 types of mixed land use zones, right? One are general mixed use, where I am priority. One are residential mixed use, residential is our priority. Commercial, where commercial takes priority. Civic and community, where the civic and community takes priority. Priority the most, the one that takes up the most space. And then there's industrial mixed use and agriculture mixed use. So for the different mixed use types, there are percentages to be allocated for the other uses. For instance, how we run the mixed use general. Ha category prioritize one, right? Exceed more than 35% of the total square meters. So none of them takes priority over the other one. And then highly mixed use residential, between 50 to 75% must be residential, right? And then you say office commercial the remaining 50 to 25%, right? If it's a mixed use commercial, then check certificate. If it's a mixed use commercial, also the commercial uses have to be 50 to 75%. Civic and community, same thing, 50 to 75%. Industrial, 50 to 75%. And then agriculture, it's 85%. But now, it's 50%. 50% of it must be agriculture, and then you can build the other stuff around it. Now, specifically agriculture, because a lot of people want this one in particular. So agricultural land is anything that has to do with planting crops, harvesting crops, feeding animals, managing animals, producing livestock, poultry, bearing honeybees, the plants, maintain, cultivate. That's all called agricultural land. And extend there, wildlife, agricultural, whether it's maintaining and harvesting and breeding wildlife animal species, under agricultural, but you have to get the wildlife permission. So not the core uses. The core uses, I think everybody knows the core uses the agriculture. The things that you are, let me start with the ancillary. The ancillary. How this your agricultural plot, you can put in ancillary uses, right? Ancillary, what are these things? A dwelling for a single family, ancillary. Farm workers housing, e kgona go nna multi-res, ancillary. Administration office ya farm, ancillary. You can have a park inside, playgrounds, hunting reserves, camping grounds. Although how change land use, the land use is still agricultural, but we are able to do all of these things. Animal hospital, veterinary facilities, kennels, these are, they fall under ancillary agriculture. You do not have to change use into anything for you to build these things. Motenga, your farm, farmukera timo. Farm. And then the ones that you can ask for permission, right? Based on tourism, permission, ask for consent without changing with you, ask for consent for this particular function. Tourist-based activities, right? Bed and breakfast, guest house, lodge, and the maximum number of rooms that are allowed, how occupy permission, get 10. So you can have at your farm without changing use. Yeah, without changing use, you can have a guest house, yeah, up to 10 rooms, kana only campsite, kana tented camp, kana backpackers accommodation, but the rooms are 10, right? That's the maximum. But you are not changing this, you are asking for consent. The reason why I make sure your intentions is not going to conflict with the farmers around, and it's not going to be outside of the context, yeah, your agriculture. Remember, these are supporting your agricultural activity. You better be farming if you want to do these things. Support. For instance, where people generally ask is because these are things that you can ask for permission. Proportion, and remember what 50%, you can go up to 50%, so you can do that. Yeah, no, how re go ngo limile 3 hectares of water o batla go ira accommodation ya babereki ba go o go tela o batla go ira 300 units or babereki ba go ba 3 hectares ka tseleng it doesn't work. So tshwanetse go tsamaelane di kgang tsa go di kap ha re batla go ira guest house, it's okay go ka ira 10 rooms me gape ya guest house ena le babereki, so kana wa ke tsa ka. So you ask for permission. Light industrial, these are things you ask for permission for, and this is about light industrial. Remember, you can do them outside. So you are doing packaging, kana juice limited namune wa juice namune tsa gago, kana o ira tamati soso ka ditamati tsa gago tso di limileng, that you can be allowed for your light industrial plant to process your produce. You can have a recreational park, gives a breakaway. Commercial activities tse di letelwang ke tse e leng gore di tsamaelana le your agriculture. Other things that are consented that you can do, you can have a church mo teng ga your farm, you can have a cemetery mo teng ga your farm, you can have daycare mo teng ga your farm, you can have structures, public structures, you are serving the community, they provide a utility, I don't know what community hall that can be allowed, but you have to ask for consent for these things. One key thing that is outright prohibited on agriculture is heavy industrial that is not related to agricultural activity. For instance, what is heavy industrial that we can have? What like manufacturer di koloi, di dilo, ding, that's not allowed because it's not related to your agriculture. Processor your produce, kana that is allowed on your agricultural plot. In terms of UCS finally animal breeding farms, ranching, the key things go on or you need to have your animals. And then in terms of your ancillary, all the way down to being able to dispose of solid waste on site. The things you can ask for permission for all the way down. Heavy industrial and then there's all communal grazing places. Go di cattle posting, go mmarakeng. Those ones lay specific allocation policies that you have to follow in terms of what you can build, what you can't build, depending on the particular location. So you can do that. Now, in terms of does it mean one can apply to use an open space for agri purposes like hydroponic establishments? I think you can. Let me just check here. You can, depending on the type of open space you have identified, right? So the open spaces, let me just go back to the open spaces here. Parks and open spaces. How about la dira in hydroponics agriculture? Ancillary uses, consent uses, agricultural. Okay, so you need to determine what kind of open space is it, and then we can know your hydroponics and you find that the majority of them, so the servitude open spaces you're allowed to do agriculture but you have to ask for permission. Thank you for that, Talaile. Haven't seen you in a long time. So back to, I don't know if there's any other questions. But Facebook, that's a rare place to have silence. It's fine. Okay, so in terms of what we do, it's 5 minutes. At Go Smart Valley, these are the services that we provide. We can do a feasibility study for you to determine your highest and best use before we change our use, so that you know is it necessary for you to change use Ghana, is it something that you can ask for consent to build Ghana an ancillary use. We also do development business plan, and it's not business plans for everything. It's business plans that have to do with Leahati, that have to do with development of property, not every single thing. We don't do business plans for saluni. You don't own the property. If you're owning the property and you want to lease out the property for a salon, we can do a business plan for you. Investment advisory services, when you want to invest in property, whatever it is, financing, development, or whichever way we provide those services. Financial modeling, that means how to apply a loan in a way that makes the development feasible. And then we also do market research. We provide our services in 2 ways. You can go to our site, gobookings.gosmartvalley.com, book a consultation, and then we'll charge you based on what kind of consulting you want. Or you can subscribe on Aliyah 175, 250 at 375 when you are still at the beginning of your journey, so that you don't spend a lot of money or to figure out which direction you want to go. Outside of that, Masika, I was expecting to get a lot of questions, to be able to answer questions. I only prepared just so that we don't have, oh great, there's another question. Some retail centers and office spaces, in their effort to go green, have started planting trees and other vegetation on the roof. Would one be required to change use in this case, or just permission? No, you are allowed to plant. No. You're allowed to plant it anyway. You're allowed to plant it there. The reason why they're going green is to preserve energy and all of that. You don't have to change use to do that stuff. In fact, you are adding to the value that your property is adding. Because every time when you build, how a mall, you're taking up a lot of space. And all of that. And you have taken up a lot of green from the land. I really, really commend the mall tse leng gore di batla go aga ga tekeng go tsenya dithare mo di-roofing and all of that. That is really great, because then you're giving back to the community. You don't need to do a change of land use for that kind of thing. You just go ahead and do it. It's not agriculture. You're just enhancing your particular development. Thank you for that, thank you for that question. Is there any other questions? I don't know if there's anything else. If you want to ask any questions, you can call WhatsApp 72111247. That is mine. You can email info@gosmartvalley.com. That is for the business. Somebody will respond there. To book, whether it's a presentation advisor, you go to bookings.gosmartvalley.com. Otherwise, you can visit our website and see if you can find information that you need and subscribe and support us. Otherwise, thank you ever so much. This is going to be from 10 to 11. So, are there any other questions? Did you touch base on what is required for one to change Timo to residential? I didn't touch on what is required. So the key thing to change, thank you for that question. To change Timo from homeowner to residential is basically, what is important is that you are able to provide for the residential environment. You are complying with my number is 72. I'm going to share it. 72111247. 72111247. And please don't call now because I'm still talking to you here. You can WhatsApp and I'll talk to you later. So essentially, is, remember the overarching thing Botswana is to ensure there's equal. Yes, that's my number. There's equal distribution of land. So how you've been allocated 50 hectares of agricultural land or 100 hectares of agricultural land, and you want to convert all of that to residential, it becomes a bigger, it's not just about your conversion. It's also about how does that change of land use affect the general view here, that particular motse, right? Are you extending the boundary motse by doing that? Or is it within? So for instance, is already motse, you find that it will be much easier for you to change. So they just look at the size, maximum size. 10 hectares, you may struggle, but highly 4 hectares, it might do. Highly 4 hectares, it might be a lot easier for you. But how you are disproportionately allocated. So you have to have a discussion with the land board in terms of the use, that particular team, how it changed it into residential. How about the whole registry? These are not my opinion. This is current mola right? How about the whole change? I would suggest that you first subdivide. You subdivide. How get 10 hectares? Subdivide 10 hectares. And then change your purpose is to register. But chances change. I think the maximum residential that you're supposed to have it's 5,000 square meters, and that is allowed because one would have already been allocated in a 5,000 square meters. But houses will work more than that. It can't be just a simple residential. So you have to go back to the different types of residential For what kind is it? You have to go back to what are the uses that are around there? And if that change was granted, the service would water utilities still be able to tsenya metsi mo jarateng nngwe le nngwe, motlakase ta tsena mo jarateng nngwe le nngwe, access e ka tsena mo jarateng nngwe le nngwe. So those are things that they differ from one plot to another ha le gore ba tla go change tshimo into residential. I hope I answered you, Sinde. Thank you so much for that particular question. But it is possible in Nakanyela what is the size of this land parcel? The is it possible, or what is the best strategy for you to go about it? Some of these things, strategy, what do you put before the council first? Because how can I 50 hectares in a residential? Chances of that being successful is low. But how the hell or no, 10 hectares in 84 hectares, it's a 2 hectares. That might be possible. And then house no the certificate the new certificate is secured or the 4 hectares of Boromia, 4 hectares residential. You may find that is much more easier than the larger one. So sometimes strategy so holla, and then we can also help you to strategize on the best way for you to achieve what you want to achieve. Facebook too. Is there any other question? Let's see. Let me go down. If one is to start, community garden in the open spaces, how does one go about it? You'd have to ask. So how about the community garden? You have to go and ask for permission. Go land board. So because it is permissible, it's one of those things that there's consent for, and because it's for the community, you go land board, you ask for permission to do that. They give you permission, and also it helps to have the consent of the community. But live around that particular open space, fully communal. In most cases, that would be allowed. It's a transitional into your way of acquiring, because sometimes you get disappointed. There are a few parks that which started off as open spaces that you'd find that a corporate a specific individual has gone to council, has gone to land board to say this garden, but the community, and they've made that available. FNB, I think people know that is an open space that they have decided by and do the upkeep, but it's available to the public. I think Broadhurst is lucky. Broadhurst Industrial, that used to be taken care of by KBL. I don't know if it's still being taken off by KBL. Block 9 that I believe in Bahai. So these things are possible where there's this a barren piece of land, and then you go counseling on land board and say, listen, we want to take care of this, we want to do this. They'll obviously ask about your capability, all of that kind of stuff. But once they're satisfied of what your capacity and your ability is, you have the support of the community. That is something that is made possible. Thank you for that. I don't see any other questions that we can talk about. That change of land use, but and to take you back on this one, okay. Regarding 50% of Timo, do we still need to request permission for land board in case one diverts from plowing? You don't need, as long as it's 50%. So I don't know what diverts from plowing, or you are planting some other method. How the other 50%, as long as it is ancillary to the other one, right? So let's say, for instance, we're horticulture. ana o lemile a ke re gantse go go le plowing field gantsi re tsa gore go lengwa ga tekeng midi lentšhe and the stuff. Maybe not plowing, okay. Maybe building a multi-residential. Okay, so it's how you position it, right? When you build your multi-residential, the allowable thing is that you're doing that for, mind you, let's go back to the uses, the ancillary uses, right? Right. So, you are building a multi-res, mind you, it's for your farm workers. That's the reasoning. It's for your farm workers, or you are building it as ancillary to you are building a guest house or accommodation for your farmers or for your farming. So however you're doing it for anything other than the farm, it's no longer ancillary to the farm, then it's no longer it no longer fulfills the purpose. So but you want to also provide accommodation. Make sure accommodation is the level at which you are farming, right? So how long you have farmed the 50% there, and then you provide accommodation here, malapali 12. It's allowed as long as it makes sense. You must make it make sense. Like cannot make a strategy. It's not like anything. Cái strategy yala sa gore o kgone gore o benefit there from the full value of your property. But if you are not plowing at all, the farmhouse. Who are you accommodating in the farmhouses? And that's the thing that then becomes an issue for you. So make sure that the challenge go permission but how wa go submit the plan so that they give you planning approval. They will those are things that they'll ask you how but wa multi-res hela wa batho ba le 200 me ga wa lema, it becomes another thing. So you do have to lema so that you can provide the ancillary service. I hope I answered you well. You can only build on the 50%, and then you have to have planted on the 50% for ancillary. Thank you. Great. Any other question? No other questions, Bahai. So thank you so much. If you have any other questions, please put them on the Go Smart Value timeline. Please feel free, wherever you saw this, whether you saw this guy emailed it to you or on LinkedIn or on Twitter or wherever, if there's something else that you still want to ask for the next couple of days around change of land use, please do holler on, you can also holler on WhatsApp, 72111247. You can also email info@gosmartvalue.com, or you can also, what else can you do? Book a session, let's have a conversation, and then we can provide key services that you might need for you. Otherwise, thank you so much. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Good. Bye. I'm hoping I'm gonna put you in the. Thank you. Bye.